Welcome back, Rage Nation. Got myself Pete here.
That's not really exciting.
You got Senior Dixon.
I don't think that's appropriate.
And you got Monsieur Leopard.
Explorers deserved it. No.
Absolutely.
I was disgusted. I cannot believe they've done this.
Why is wacky? Why is that good? It's just nonsense.
I disagree on that. That's not possible.
We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission. Yeah.
Now we've got a whole new list of things to complain about.
Welcome back, Rage Nation. We are at it again. Got myself Pete here, and we got us a pair of people on with us. We got Dixon, of course, but we also invited on Landon to come on and talk with us about some bands format. So welcome back onto the show there, Landon.
Thanks, Pete. Happy to be here.
Yep, we I think that a lot of times when we talk about tournament stuff, we obviously like talking to a lot of different people who are very active in tournament scenes. And Landon, you're always going to events, playing in a lot of different formats. So I think that you'll have a lot of interesting things to say about the band format.
Yeah, I've definitely tried it enough. It's an interesting format. It's very different from normal foe at times.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we'll talk about some of the pros and cons here in a minute. But before we get into it, make sure that you guys are checking us out. You can do that by going on to our YouTube channel. We're trying to put a video out on that now. About every other week, we're getting one out there. And yeah, lots of good stuff coming on that. And then we also have our Discord channel that has gotten a ton of people, and that's probably because Pete is actually putting the link in all the description stuff. So thanks for everybody for actually clicking on that. And then finally, if you want to support us directly, you can do that by going to patreon.com/RageQuitWire, where you can support us for as little as $1. You get the content early. You get to hang out on the live recordings and ask us questions and interact with the people that are on the episodes. And then finally, you can also support us by using our affiliation link if you buy stuff from Weird. And that's please give us your money, please. Thank you, weird.com/RageQuitWire. And a little bit goes back to the podcast, especially with all this Reser nonsense that Pete has been buying. It helps a little bit, but not a lot. I'm still spending a lot of money. And it looks like, guys, I'm going to be spending even more money. I don't know if you have seen the new models that are coming out here in the next few months, but man, they look sweet.
Yeah, the Ghost Heater is exciting as a pretend orange model.
Yeah, I mean, because I saw there's some Ashes of Malifaux stuff coming out. The Resers are getting a starter box coming out soon. So there's some really cool stuff coming out the first part of this year. Of course, one of the boxes is a Jack Dawn Karai box, and I don't play either one of those. So
never too late to start.
I just don't know. Karai, I don't know. Karai is interesting mainly because her totem is so just
Disgusting.
beastly. Yeah. That's the thing that's so appealing is like, do I want to, terrify and, terrorize my local meta with a Curio?
Yep.
I don't think they're ready for that.
I think that they need to, rip that bandage off. Like, that's basically what I've been doing with Harley. It's like, all right, Harley, we're doing this. Let's play.
I don't know if you, if Trevor, sent you any messages about last night's game, Dixon, but
no.
Man, he was having some feel bads about Molly and Plant Explosives just stealing his lunch money.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad. That's her strongest strategy in GG4, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, he did, what's the word I'm looking for? He did send me some messages, but I don't remember them being specifically about the game. More like he felt strongly about it. I don't know what you want to say about that, though.
Yeah. I just told him that, when you play against Molly, it's hard to pick schemes that are scheme marker based because Molly can just get rid of them so easily.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, Landon, but like the way that I've learned to deal with it is just accept that I'm going to lose 2 to 4 soulstones and not have a cash higher than 5. And so far, that's how I've been winning games. Like, Pete could attest to that. That's actually been the winning strategy for me, quote unquote.
I think you also just try to kill Molly's models when they present themselves.
Well, yes, but I do it literally with losing the soulstones in mind. But anyway, how do you?
Yeah, I just kill Grilligans.
There you go. How?
How? It depends on what I'm playing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Pete keeps him outside of line of sight, away from everything, and waits for like the last 2 activations. Then they come in and ruin your day. Or at least that was by my experience.
If you have some kind of control, like activation control in your keyword, I mean, like, so obviously Landon plays a lot of Yoko or whatever her face is, and
Also true.
past tokens can get around, the double activation of like the Krooligans and stuff, so that becomes less powerful. So that's always a good way to deal with it.
But how do you kill? Like, what are you waiting, or how are you forcing them to come in?
Realistically, it's just been a really long time since I played against Molly, but if you wanted my answers to how I'd be doing it currently if I had to, it's probably just Amanazako with a focus, just flying 19 inches across the board and one-shotting a Krooligan.
Yeah,
They
I think
have
mobile
harder
crews.
wounds.
Right, that's why you use a flicker and a focus.
That's why you're saying Amanosako.
Yes.
I completely did not.
Is that the giant demon looking thing?
Yeah, it's the giant demon-looking lady.
Yeah.
I've been testing a lot of her in GG4 to mixed results.
Oh my god, that is
I still
dirty.
think I like her.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that's leading us into this conversation, because a lot of people are, figuring out Gaining Grounds 4, but especially with newer players and even people who've been playing in, tournaments here and there, I think sometimes when they go to a tournament and it's a ban tournament, I think that sometimes new players especially don't know what to ban or what they should ban because, maybe they're not as familiar with the format. They don't know what the faction they're playing against has. They don't know what could really hurt them in that, in that strategy or the pool or the board, whatever. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get into what we think is some good, just general targets, because I think for newer players, it's good to be like, hey, here's some general good keywords to ban for each faction. And then maybe we'll talk about corner case scenarios as well. But I want to talk about the format first. And I think most places I've seen with a ban format, it's been, you can bring double masters and it's just the ban format. I haven't been to any singles banned formats. Singles is when you can't bring a second master. Most tournaments in the US, I think you can bring a second master when you do bans format. So I've been to probably 3 or 4 tournaments with that now. And I have some things I like and dislike about it, but I want to get some of your general ideas first, Landon, and then you, Dixon.
Yeah, so I usually like to suggest actually a couple keywords for my opponent whenever they're like, I don't know what to ban. Sometimes are relevant keywords in there, sometimes it's not, but I always like to give them enough information that they can come to a decision on what they think might be the right answer, regardless of whether or not it's in my bag. That's a whole nother problem with the bans format, but
So do you think then that the ban format's good in general, or are you kind of indifferent to it, or do you think it's bad?
I think it's a tough call. It's definitely a different format, and I think if we're going to allow master hiring into the game, it's generally neat as far as just something to kind of let people feel better about that. Because I know there's a lot of buzz about whether or not the U.S. plays correctly by allowing you to hire masters or not, and I think bans is the acceptable compromise on that.
Yeah, because I think that especially when we had a lot of problems with like Hoffman 2 and Mei Fang, that was a big, kind of combo that a lot of people, this was before bans, and people were really having like getting their butt hurt about that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, I think there's 2 reasons why Weird kind of is allowing this format or recommends or, says this is one of the available formats, is because if there's a broken combo, you can ban the broken combo before it even is available to get hired. So, for example, if somebody back then hired Mei Fang and then that Mei Fang and Hoffman is the bad combo, you can go, cool, I'm going to ban Augmented. You can't bring that. And that busts up the combo before it even hits the board. And the second reason I think they allow it is because I think there's just some models that are hard counters, and sometimes that's a feel bad for a faction. So I know me playing Rezzers right now, if I play against Guild and they pick, let's just say they pick Hoffman, I'm like, cool, I don't want to see any Lady Justice crap on the board because she tends to, sometimes tear Rezzers apart. So that gives me the ability to be like, I don't want to see this. Maybe I'm playing something that can bury. I'm like, I don't want her to attack my buried crap, so let's ban her keyword. And I think that's 2 of the positives of it. I think the negatives of it is just kind of like, well, learn to play the game, learn to counter the good stuff, and, eventually figure it out. And I think that's the two sides of the coin, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think it's more based on faction. Okay, so just to get out of the way, the example that I have in my head is in Neverborn, I have like 2 to 3 models that have Ruthless. And if you ban the freaking Carver or whatever other one of those models that I have, I'm stuck with like the Rider, which is kind of meh. So I like the bans. I just wish that there was a little bit more fairness in all the factions for it to be...
The availability of tools, maybe?
Yeah, just little things like that. Because, like, as it is right now, some factions are getting hurt really badly, in my opinion.
I think you can actually narrow it down more than just factionally. Because to me, how bans has always worked is that if I'm going to play bans for precisely the reasons that both of you have addressed, there's going to be, a keyword in my faction that has access to the tech you might need for a matchup, right? And not knowing whether or not you're going to need that tech before you go into the matchup kind of just dictates what keyword you can declare, because otherwise you might just be left without it, right?
Yeah.
And so this is actually the long story of how I became a Yoko 2 spammer. As around the time I started playing a lot of her is when events were doing these singles bans type formats. And I thought to myself, well, I want to be able to hire Charm Warder, because Charm Warder is a important iconic piece of counter tech with, Exorcism and Lantern, which, respectively kill summon models and stop demise, right?
Yep.
And so it's not in just one keyword, it's in 2 keywords, which means it's twice as likely to get banned. And so if I'm not playing either of those keywords, I can be pretty confident that I'm never going to have access to a Charm Warder. So even just within Thunder is a faction that's kind of privileged for tech, right? You start getting pinholed into playing specific crews by bans just by the fact that if you want something that you'll need for a matchup, as Pete said, the keywords that have difficulty because they get countered are going to ban that every time.
Yeah, I found that if I want to play Manos and Rezzers, that I have to play Yanlo, because if I don't, a lot of times people are banning Ancestor just so they don't have to deal with Yanlo.
Exactly.
And I've kind of forgotten how to play him because I'm like, man, I haven't played Manos and Yanlo in a while, so maybe I just need to play a Yanlo game to, dust off the of course Manos is pretty, he's really good, so he's pretty flexible to play, and it's like a bike. You remember how to play him once he's on the board. But yeah, it's just it's definitely a format that I think's interesting. I think it benefits the player with more knowledge of the game, though, because I can look at what I'm playing and say, okay, I'm playing into Arcanist. I have some demise stuff. I don't want them messing with my demise, so I'm going to ban Loeth and whatever keyword he's in. So, and then you don't have to worry about it.
I don't disagree at all.
Yeah.
I have a practical example of this. Actually, in Texas, we were playing the bans format, and my opponent for one of my rounds, he was asking me what there was available to ban, so I started, giving a couple list of things, and then he asked me, well, what ignores armor? And I started listing off a bunch of different keywords that had stuff that ignored armor, and ultimately, I know I said Wastrel at some point in time, but I was like, oh, there's Desper. He ignores armor and Wastrel and just forgot about mentioning the precise upgrade. And then ultimately he chooses something that's not Wastrel. I hire McCabe as a second master, and he's playing Von Schill. All of his stuff has armor and shielded, and this precise McCabe is just carving through all of it, right? And so if he knew a little bit more about 10 Thunders, or about McCabe specifically, he'd know that that was a really important thing for his game plan to kind of weed out. I think he ended up banning Honeypot instead, which admittedly was a model I would have hired out of keyword Kitty.
Okay. Yeah.
But it wasn't the same level of impact.
No. Well, yeah, because Kitty's like getting you cards and doing some shenanigans.
No, Kitty is the incorporeal that drops this.
I was thinking of Maddox there.
Yeah, Maddox is the one.
I mean, still rig the deck too, which is pretty good for getting cards. But yeah,
that's. It's definitely not the same as good for a lot.
I was going to say, and not only that, McCabe's also reducing, your stats by 1, and it's pretty brutal, especially if you're armor.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
I tend to agree. The knowledge is important.
Yeah, and I think that's why this episode's important and why we're talking about it, because I want to give newer players a little ammunition to, have good general ideas on these are keywords that are good that you might want to consider banning. And then I think you want to get familiar with your keyword and get experience on what just murders the crap out of your crew. Like if you're playing armor, you should be very aware if you're in a bans format, what is some anti-armor stuff that you might want to ban so you have less stuff to worry about. So I think that's kind of why we wanted to do this episode for sure. So I think just for kind of, because we're all pretty competitive players here. So I'm playing Rezzers right now. Landon, what faction are you still focused on 10 Thunders, or did you bounce to a different faction for the start of this?
I don't really bounce a lot. I just play 10 Thunders because it's what I own. On Vassal, I'll dabble a little bit, like I'm playing Guild for this next Vassal event.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that I really have played to any great extent anything outside of Thunders and Guild.
Yeah, and Dixon, have you settled down in anything, or are you still kind of wandering about?
I'm just wondering about. I am gonna play Neverborn in this next Vassal event because like I said, I'm gonna try to start going to events online at least. Mm-hmm. By the way, Landon, if you can please lend me a link or something, because I just couldn't find it the other day how to actually sign myself up.
For the latest Vassal event, I think signups might be closed, unfortunately.
For the one in February?
The one in February, I don't know. They're doing one in January, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that one's closed.
Started.
I tried, and I couldn't get into that one, so I was like, oh, okay, maybe I messed up. I thought it was just reacting to the message. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's for the January
But
one.
yeah, I'm going to be playing Neverborn on that event, see where everything falls, and then see where I go from there.
Yeah, so I think the way we'll do this is let's kind of go about faction by faction here. And then what we'll do is we'll talk about some kind of like general bans that were like, okay, if I was playing against Guild in general, here's one that I might ban. And then think about kind of what you're currently playing a lot of. So like I'm playing a lot of Mali and a lot of Yanlo. So I'm going to think about, in my perspective, what I would want to ban then as well, being a Rezzer player in those keywords. And you guys can do the same. And I think it'll be a pretty interesting conversation as we go through it. So let's just kind of go in order on the app here. So we're going to start with Arcanist. So Arcanist, you guys can tell me, but I think Arcanist is one of the harder ones to ban because I think a lot of their versatiles are very good. So we'll start with you, Landon. So if you were playing against an Arcanist player in general, what are kind of like a couple of the what?
The idea was with strats. You say the strat and then...
I don't think we're going to do it for every strat just because...
Okay.
Well, because I just think that would take way too long.
All right.
That's why I say general and then just kind of go into it that way. I think this...
I'm also not certain that strategy is going to have an impact on it for me a lot of the time as far as what I'm going to ban. Maybe like once in a blue moon for a certain faction, but generally speaking, I think a lot of them are clear-cut to me personally. I think I can narrow Arcanist down to 3. And it's kind of going to depend on what you want to not see from your opponent. Mm-hmm. So Corfi Duet is in Performer, and I think that's one of the easiest ones to just call out of the blue.
That's true.
Corfi Duet can kind of get slotted into any Arcanist crew and do pretty well in the fact that it's difficult to kill, it offers you activation control, and the things that piece can do on the board are just so versatile because it has so much AP that it can really get done whatever it needs to get done.
Yeah, and you also catch Cassandra and Carlos with that, which also see a lot of different crews as well.
Yeah,
for sure. Especially if you're like playing against Sandeep, I would definitely double down on that Performer ban.
When I soloed Sandeep, Landon, I think almost everybody banned. It's almost like the word was out. It was just Performer got banned the whole tournament.
Yeah,
I mean that's the key.
Yeah, that would happen.
Well, what if you're playing against Performer? Then what would be the case?
So I don't know if I'd ban it against Performer, but the other two that came to my mind off the top of my head were Elemental and December. And Elemental was for Wind Golem, because Wind Golem was Soulstone Cache.
Yeah, boy.
That thing does a lot of work regardless of whether you're playing Sandeep.
That's true. That is true.
And then I'm guessing Silent Ones? Is that why you're banning Rasputina?
No. Yeah, Silent Ones is where I would be banning for December.
Oh, Blessed December. That would be the first thing.
That too.
I mean, Blessed of December is just what do you call it? Wind Golem at home.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you think that Wind Golem has now superseded the Blessed December, even
Oh,
though
yeah.
it costs.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because it
It
costs
might be two more stones, but it's
Yeah.
like way harder to kill.
Oh, absolutely.
And it offers a lot more versatility on the board than Bless does. Bless will like leap and score you points and maybe kill like a Scheme Runner.
Yeah.
If you stop to give it focus somehow, like you get a bunch of AoE damage, repositioning,
Okay.
the ability to, like
That's
Wind Golem's good.
I'm gonna have to like look at my list now because like that is true. Like the Wind Golem, I just haven't tried to put the Wind Golem in Arcanist because I haven't played Arcanist since Pete picked it up.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight Silent One for a small bit because it's kind of like a weird model to call out if you're not familiar with why it would be banned, right? Because you look at this thing, it's like a 6-stone minion with a bunch of like keyword situated text.
Yeah.
And the number one reason is that most people just hire this thing to slap arcane training on it or magical training, whatever it's called,
Yep.
for an extra card. And then it's just like a reasonably viable backline support piece for just like a little bit of healing. Sometimes those ice pillars can block off points so that you have to destroy them or do stuff to get to your strategies. And so it looks innocent, but once you've played against a really good player playing a Silent One as like an AO keyword take, you'll be like, oh, I can see why people would ban this.
Yeah,
But
the range healing's good in this GG. It's good for also some anti-scheming because it's kind of hanging out in the back line. So I mean, you could put it on the back ballots. You could put it on the back raid the vaults, one of those markers. So it can just kind of do some denial. Puts out slow, I think, as well. And the range healing's just the big one. It's just pretty good.
Healing.
Well, it can
like,
also
16
interact
inches.
through the pillars.
If I remember correctly, they said that doesn't count as base to base though. What I was
It doesn't count as base to base, but for vaults, you only have to be within 1
I see what
inch,
you're
not
saying.
base to base.
I see what you're saying. For ballots, and for
I think it's the same way for covert.
and for cloak and dagger. Yeah.
Yeah, cloak and dagger, not covert ops, right?
Yeah.
Different GG.
Well, what I was gonna say is like she is like a healer, 16 inches out, no line of sight, basically necessary because she draws line of sight through the ice pillars too. Because the only thing that the ice pillars cares about is triggers. Other than that, you literally can just shoot everything through them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So looking at Arcanist, I agree kind of with what you said there, Landon. The only thing that I would probably think about banning as well is probably just, depending on the pool, just banning augmented. Just because if you're worried about seeing like Joss, because a lot of people reach for him out of keyword, I think that's a solid ban as well if you're really worried about irreducible damage.
I thought that he was
Or the Ruthless.
that.
Because I think he's like one of the
Yes.
2 Ruthless models they got.
Yeah.
And the other one's Rasputin.
I was gonna ask.
And the Rider, I think.
And yeah, the writer is also ruthless. I was gonna ask, is he not versatile? I thought he was versatile. Wow. Oh, that's right.
He's not.
Yeah. Machina. I thought Machina was all versatile, but I don't think he is Machina.
Yeah, so I mean that's
He
the
is
main
Machina,
reason.
but he's also augmented.
Yeah, that's the main reason I would ban augmented is if you're really worried about that. Especially if I was playing like double hanged or something, right? In Rezzers, I would be like, yep, I don't want to see Joss.
Do not
That
want to
checks
see
out.
that.
And I think that's kind of what the second part of this, right, is as a Rezzer player, have a lot of terrifying. There's some manipulative stuff in my crews, and I'm just like, if Joss gets in the wrong spot, he could just murder the crap out of things. And especially Hanged, who can use soul stones, they're terrifying, 13. They would just vaporize with Joss coming in. So that would be a good ban for me if I brought Hanged. What about you, Dixon? Anything stand out to you that you're just kind of like, man, I really hate seeing this, so I would ban it?
No, the two main ones were Performer and I didn't think about Elemental, but like.
Well, I know
December.
when I was on my collect kick there, you definitely hated a lot of those Performer models.
Yeah. I mean, but I played against you when you were playing Performer itself, so yes, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And-
Performer literally for the same reasons, and December because of the two models that I said. But now I gotta look into Elemental because that is very true. The Wind Golem with Soulstone Cash.
To be fair, I haven't seen an Arcanist player bring it out of keyword with the Wind Golem, but I know it's good enough where there's a lot of crews I wouldn't want to see it for sure.
Okay.
It's pricey.
It is.
13 points, right?
I play a lot of Sandeep though, so I'm used to like 310 Soulstone models in my list, so
Yeah,
it doesn't
but
scare me off.
Outside of keyword with the upgrade, that's 13
Yeah.
points. So
It's true. That is true. So yeah, I think those are some good calls for Arcanist for sure. Definitely think about what your keyword likes and doesn't like to see and kind of go off of that. But I think those are kind of the big ones for what you might want to think of with the old Arcanist there. I think the next one, this one's kind of interesting with Bayou. So Bayou's got a lot of different types of stuff. I think Bayou might be one of the harder ones to ban because I'm like, they're all kind of like, there's not a lot of things I look in Bayou where I'm just like, man, I really don't want to see that. Most of the time now, I feel like I ban the Fisher, Angler and the Fisher folk type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's where a lot of my ban power is going right now with Bayou.
I was gonna say, it's like, I think you're trolling, right? Because like, I think it's obvious. Angler.
I think Uncle Bog's the big reason there.
Yeah. If it's not Uncle Bog, you're banning Trixie. But like usually you're playing against Trixie, so you can't ban Trixie.
Trixie.
Yeah, Big Brain Bryn.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know if I hate Big Brain Ben enough to ban him, but I don't disagree that it's definitely a thought. My thought, if it's not Angler, and don't get me wrong, it's Angler every time you're not playing against Angler, is probably Whizbang, actually, because Alphonse is a very strong pick that takes itself out of keyword a lot.
That is so annoying. That is so true.
Yeah, I think Alphonse is there. Sometimes people like to bring the first mate, so maybe you ban Zip's keyword. But
I think there's enough alternatives.
I think Swamp Fiend. Instead of Infamous, you ban Swamp Fiend if you're gonna ban the first mate.
I think I agree with that too.
What else are you bringing out of Swamp Fiend though? I was gonna say a second master Zoraida. Yeah, that's true.
Also true. Yeah. No, that's actually I forgot to take into
Second
account.
Master Zip's definitely still a thing, but I think Second Master Zoraida is just a little bit more popular.
I feel like so, and you guys can probably remember. Well, not you, Dixon, because you weren't there, but Landon was. So, Landon, the first year Malifaux did the Captain Con tournament, right? It was right after Titles came out, and it seemed like everybody was doing like this Zoraida plus, one of the new Titles combos. So I was seeing like
I do remember that.
There was like Zoraida and Titania, Zoraida and like Dreamer, and it's just like
I think Zoraida and Pandora is what got to
that was
number 2 at the event.
Yes. Was that who ran that? Somebody ran it. It was
I used to know the name of the gentleman, but I think he stopped playing.
Yeah.
I mean
unless he's fallen out of memory.
He got Zoraida nerfed pretty hard. Like not into the ground obviously, but very, very hard.
So, I mean, you're definitely true. I just had a game against Dixon where I wanted to punch him through the computer and he was playing Zoraida.
That did happen.
So I can vouch that banning Zoraida if you're worried about the double master is never a bad choice. So if you're worried about, you're like, I don't want to deal with Zoraida as a second master, definitely ban it.
Yeah, I mean, the cheating thing about Zoraida is the only ability you lose is the one that nobody ever remembers is on the card anyways, so it's not really a downside taking her as a second.
Yeah, so I definitely think that banning the Clampets and then banning Zoraida's keyword, probably the two that you're going to see the most. Do you guys really, so do you worry about Alphonse that much that you would ban him? Because
yeah, he's pretty good.
I feel like people are bringing him for the toss when they bring him out of keyword.
That's really good.
Yeah, toss is really good.
That's like one of the best actions for getting an alpha strike.
But are you banning it just because you're worried about that toss? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, we are answering.
He still has like a lot of other good stuff on his card, but also yes, he's just like the best model with toss in the faction.
That is definitely
maybe
true.
if I'm playing against like a big hat or something where I've already banned Angler anyways.
Yep.
But assuming I can't ban Angler or don't want to because I know it's not in his bag or something, that might be a situation where I know the keyword already has toss and maybe they're not reaching for Alphonse.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's anything I care about banning more anyways.
Well, I feel
Alphonse is still really good in that keyword.
I feel like the other keywords for Bayou are too synergistic that they don't work great out of keyword. So like, especially if you look at Ophelia, Brewmaster, Somer, I mean, a lot of those keywords you're not going to see out of keywords. Some people like bringing the whiskey golem.
Alphonse works well in all three of those, though.
Yes, I will agree. So I guess I've never, when I'm thinking about banning something, it's either like this is a silver bullet that I don't want to deal with, or the general whole, like the big chunk of the keyword's really good. So that's kind of what I look at with bans when I'm kind of doing it. So somebody like Alphonse tossing, I would be worried when I saw it, but I can also be like, okay, I just have to deal with that when it's on the board.
My main 4 in order would be that it would be Angler number 1, then Trixie for a couple of models, Bryn, and the Bushwhackers, because Bushwhackers can actually be a problem. And then
I brought him out keyword.
Then Swamp Fiend, and then finally, in my opinion, would be the Wong keyword.
Well, I think if somebody declares Zip, I would think hard about banning Trixie, just because Zip dunking things into pit traps is something I've done plenty of times, and it gets brutal if you're not able to fight it off.
I was gonna say it can get very cancerous with just 2 attacks. Like,
Yeah.
oh, dunk, that's it, game.
I killed Hinamatsu that way in not this year's Houston tournament, but the previous. Nick Westbrook brought Hinamatsu in a Yoko 2 list, and I just chucked her into the pit trap, and she just died just from that.
Do it.
That will do it.
Armor 2 doesn't save you now.
Yeah, it's a pretty good call out for the same if they're actually playing Whizbang to ban the pit trap making keyword, because Wong can actually just make pit traps fall from the sky.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So I guess that's actually probably the best reason to ban Trixie, is just not wanting to see pit traps.
Yep. I mean, I can say an example of why we said Angler, but I don't think we went a little too much into it. So I'm just gonna point out, I had a game with Big Hat where I brought Uncle Bog, and Uncle Bog basically teleported Lenny from corner deployment past the midline, about like 4 or 5 inches past the midline, with full actions. Like, he didn't have to charge or anything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of absurd, and that's the main reason.
While
why
drawing you a bunch of cards.
While drawing you, thank you. Yes, Landon. That's number 1 reason why I think you ban Angler in your mind at least, and then look at what your opponent wants to do.
Yeah, and Bog's the biggest reason. I have seen people also bring anti-mel out of keyword. I don't think it's as good as some of us in the Bayou thought it was going to be out of keyword, but it's still something to look out for. But Bog's the big reason. He's just really good in finding himself in a lot of lists. Any random thing that somebody has brought out a keyword that has made you think about banning a keyword that you just don't want to see? Besides, obviously, Alphonse was kind of the one that you guys picked out there. I don't think of any other ones that I'm like banning for a random reason. It used to be Kin when Francois was a beast, but we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah. I don't even know why you mentioned it. He's not even worth mentioning anymore.
You could, I don't know.
He likes to rub the salt in.
Would you ban Kin if you were worried about Sammy? I don't know if that's ever crossed your mind.
I honestly think I would, but because I actually value Sammy pretty high.
Same. We all everybody in this podcast right now does the same.
That's the only reason I think I would ban Kin, is if I was really worried about Sammy.
But you can also just ban Whizbang and hit Sammy at the same time.
Oh, you're right. She is dual, isn't she?
Yep, that's true.
Okay. So I think the smart move. I think the smart move then is just to ban Whizbang. Now you both have convinced me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the only time that I would bring out Sammy against people is if they have like willpower 4 or 5 and we're playing raids. So this is one of those examples where like the strategy does matter, at least to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, I get you. Because Glimpse is just super nasty in that particular situation.
Yeah, Sammy was really good last Gaining Grounds, because so much of it was like, I'm going to fight here, and you just say, no, you're going to go get buried and fight over there.
Yeah, go where the totem is in the back of the line.
I did. So I was playing against, in a tournament, I was playing against Hoffman, and I just kept using Sammy to bury Hoffman and bury the Peacekeeper. And I was just like, yeah, you can just not be on the center line. That'll be great. And I forget what he had. It might have been, I forget what crappy little robot it was, but
it was probably the mech attendant.
It probably was just hanging out in the back. I'm like, cool, go hang out with your buddy.
Yeah, that guy over there. Yeah, that guy. But yeah, I think that really does cover Bayou, though.
I think you're right. I think those are some good call outs on things you want to consider banning for sure. Okay, well, we have this one. This one's a little weird because I'm not sure.
Oh, easy for me. Wastrel number 1. Bam.
Well, I was going to say, I think looking at Explorer Society, I do lean pretty hard.
Ooh.
So there's two that I lean towards. One is Wastrel, but then the other one's actually Anya because I don't want to see Winston's face anywhere on the board.
No. Sorry. I said Wastrel because I thought Jin Baccarat was Wastrel because I only.
No, he's an Umbra.
Thank
or
you.
Yeah,
Dua?
he's
Dua.
an Ivan. Yeah, he's an
Dua.
Ivan.
So.
Which is also worth banning.
Yeah, I would say actually number 1 Dua, and then I will have to think about the second one. It's just that my brain got confused because if I play Wastrel, I was playing Jin.
Well,
Yeah, so
if
this
you're worried,
one's
I would
tough
say
for
if you're
me.
worried about the double master, I think it's McCabe. If you're worried about a couple of brutal models, I think it's Anya and Ivan.
That's true. All right, what was that, Landon?
So this one's tough for me because there's like at least one model I can think of in a half dozen of the
Yeah.
keywords that probably would be worth mentioning. But I definitely would say that you'll know when you want to ban Wastrel based on the crew that you're bringing.
Yeah.
If double masters are allowed. If double masters aren't allowed, I don't think you care. There's not really any Wastrel models in the faction beyond the master. I think there's Rough Riders, and
Yep.
that's not a real solid ban.
No.
So if there's no dual masters, then you probably just don't ban Wastrel. But my thermal nuclear take for y'all might just be Apex to ban out Model 9.
Okay.
This is, of course, assuming that you have already decided you don't care about the pass token from Jin,
Right.
which I don't think is as much of a big deal in this GG as it was in GG3,
Really?
but it's still obviously like helpful.
Huh.
So
I mean, I
touched
value it
you?
very-
Who touched you with Model 9 that has you wanting to ban him?
So like, this is just like one of those theory craft things that I've done in my head, and I'm like, this model's actually good and underplayed.
Thank
I think
you.
so.
I don't know if
you're
anyone's
right.
touched me with it.
Dixon
But
pissed
like,
me off
it's got
so
a
hard
bonus
with it.
action to move 5 inches, right? Like that's pretty good
Yeah.
on your henchman for 3 AP. If you're not prepared for armor 2 can be kind of hard to deal with.
Yep. Defense 6.
And
armor
then
2.
like, he's got running gun on top of that. So this guy's just really freaking fast at trying to go find your tiny squishy models in the back line, like your Kruligans or what have you. To just kind of get them picked off, and then when he's done killing the models he knows he's there to kill, rather than getting locked in melee, he just uses his bonus and then he just leaves.
I
He
hope
scores points.
I hope Trevor's not listening to this. I play a lot against Trevor in our local meta, and he plays Explorers. And I hope he doesn't hear that because I don't want to see Model 9 on the board. He is ridiculously mobile.
'Cause
and
I played
You're
him-
right. He would murder a Kruligan pretty quick.
Yeah, I played him against Pete quite a few times.
You pissed
and
me off.
He is exactly what you said. That's not theory crafting.
I was just,
that's what
I'm
he does.
over here with a Cavern Nephilim, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to score this VP over here. And Model 9 just goes
Blah, blah,
across
blah,
the
blah, blah.
board,
Yeah.
denies it, and then kills him.
Yeah. He's like, take 4, take 2, take 5. He's dead. It's like, what the crap just happened?
Yeah, that was my exact thoughts.
Yeah, and like the thing that I think made people not think Model 9 was any good, myself included, for a long time, is in keyword he just doesn't have enough support
Yeah,
for
that
like
makes sense.
making him really good. But you take him in like Maxine or someone who has more movement or focus or fast for him, and then he suddenly starts looking really good.
If you can give him
Dude,
focus
a
outside of activation.
fast.
If you can give him focus outside of activation, that and tossing him off the table. Those two things put together, and he's gold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause-
and like Jerry does both of those
Oh
things.
my goodness.
Yeah, that's the reason why I mentioned it, because I have thought about it. I just don't like EVS that much, so I haven't gone deeply into it. But
Oh, not EVS. I was talking about Bygone, but EVS also can do that.
yeah. Oh, okay. I thought
I
you
would say
said
both those
EVS.
crews for sure.
Okay. Bygone, you say? I got to think about that. I like that thought too. I hadn't thought about that.
See, and,
Yeah, you
and this
burn
is
out
kind of
for
where.
fast, then you give him shielded and focus.
Well, this is where I think Explorers gets tricky because everything you're saying is like, yeah, I'm totally on board with that. That sucks. But then I think of specifically if you play against somebody who knows what they're doing with Winston, Winston can just be so problematic. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
I hate seeing him.
I feel
on
like
board.
Winston's an easy substitute because like Winston's job is to just score points.
yeah.
And you can find another way to score points that isn't Winston Finnegan. Like I can get what you're saying where he's annoying and Luck Thief is a real bastard to get through.
Anarchan Reservoir.
But like
I think Dirigible Ride's probably the thing I've had the most negative experience with, actually. Because Dirigible Ride, especially when you want to be in position for certain things, especially on like ballots and raids, is where I think that's kind of like a big issue for dirigible ride displacing you. That's where I'm just kind of like, yeah, dirigible ride gets pretty nasty just picking up your stuff and moving it.
Interesting.
Yep.
And he is difficult to deal with.
I feel like I haven't had that issue before, but I have to figure out why.
Probably you haven't played against somebody that plays Winston Finnegan. Just that's it. That doesn't mean that.
I mean, I have. I've played against the model a lot.
Okay.
Nope, there's no gun on it.
And then I think when he interacts, he also puts distracted out, so he kind of can control an area. Yeah.
I just never feel like I've had a problem with him for 9 points, but like he's definitely defendable as a higher. I don't know.
Yep. The biggest two things that I like him for are basically Luck Thief and Don't Mind Me.
Yeah, for sure. Don't Mind Me is probably the big one in this edition, or this Gaining Grounds.
Dirigible ride an enemy, price of progress to get the trigger, and ride along with it, with the enemy. And because you have Don't Mind Me after that, you can like ballots or, anything really after that. Yeah, that has been my experience playing him. And
then I think if you are playing, minion heavy, I think it's more pertinent to maybe ban what you were talking about with Ivan's keyword
Apex.
there. No, I was talking about with Ivan's keyword too. So that because what's his face when he unburies next to a minion and then your minion goes away.
For sure. I think there's also something to be said about banning out the Iron Matron for some of those matchups as well. But that's why I'm saying like EVS Explorers is tough because I don't know that any one of these things is just like always a correct answer.
Well, I think so. Let's make this easier. What are some keywords then that you just like don't worry about banning it? I think one of them is obviously Nexus because you very rarely see something out of keyword from Nexus. Maybe a Night Silk Creeper. Maybe.
Nah.
I was gonna say maybe.
I agree. You can probably not ban Cadmus.
And then Bass is probably another one.
Yeah, I don't think you worry about Frontier. Although I've seen out of keyword Sandworm and not hated it, but I don't know if it's top of my no list.
And then Jedsa's models got nerfed pretty hard. Where I don't think you used to have to worry about Mikhail, but you don't really have to worry about him anymore.
You still have access.
You used to have to worry about the Dam too.
Why? I hear that all the time, and I don't get it.
Dixon hates the Damned.
Yeah, I think that model's bad.
This is just a wild take after saying that the Blessed was good, right? They're the same model.
No, it's not. The Blessed has one more defense, heals on killing and on impact. The Dam doesn't. The Dam has to kill something and do something else. I forgot what it was, and then he gets like a combo to actually heal.
I mean, he heals whenever he kills something.
I like the Damned. I don't know why Dixon hates him.
He does just heal when he kills something. In fact, he heals any friendly within 6 when he kills something.
Also, low-key, I like Austere and Twiggy a lot, too. So I don't know if I'd ever
Twiggy's like a decent one.
I don't know if I'd ever bring him out of keyword, but it's a pretty good model.
You can. Like, Aerial Strike's good enough for that. See, like, this is what I'm saying. It's really tough to just come up with one for Keel. Like, they've got a lot of reasonable choices.
Yeah, there's nothing, like, obvious, like, I just think this one specific keyword needs to be banned. Now that we're talking about it, you're right. But I definitely think that Nexus and Bass are probably the two that I'm just like, okay, I probably don't worry about those. So then think about a model that you just don't want to see. And probably just because I've had bad experiences playing against Chris, that I probably just have these leftover feel bads from Winston that I just don't. I think I might just need to get rid of that bias though, because you have. I think you may have convinced me that there's a lot of other things that I should probably worry about.
Okay, and to specify, like the one difference in defense and the lack of a Soulstone cache, I think that's the main reason why. But I think I agree with you. I like verified, looked at the models and I was like, yeah, they're pretty similar, but these two main difference, I think it's what makes the Dam like worse in a significant portion.
I was going to actually say the reason why I wouldn't, ban Seeker for the Damned is because I think Model 9 just does all of the things you want out of the Damned,
and more
a little
durable.
bit better.
Yep. That's true.
But the Grave Goo is also a pretty good Seeker model you can take out of keyword to just do some nasty stuff with.
I forgot the Grave Goo was a thing for a while, but it is really good.
Yeah. I just had a game against Harley where he actually got to do his little wombo combo against the Poltergeist, which is kind of funny.
If you haven't played against, and I think a lot of people haven't played against Jedson a bit, but if you haven't experienced the grave goo coming into your crew, eating a model, and then going back into its crew, it's tough to get your model back sometimes.
What are you talking about? You only have to pass a movement 14 duel.
Only,
it.
right?
That's it.
And you may or may not be staggered for it.
That's right. See, there you go.
Makes it super, super fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, so I would say we can sum up everything that we said in if it's a double masters, you have to look at you have to look into if your crew is gonna just completely die to Wastrel.
To McCabe, yeah.
And then after that, you have like concessions that you have to make. Because like, okay, do I really care about them winning the initiative? Do I really care about my minions getting kidnapped? You know, little things like that.
There's one last call out I have because you reminded me with the double master format. I have to double check this still works. So Maxine 2 has an ability for EVS where when you cheat, you heal one, right?
Yes.
Jedza 1 has the ability where when you heal, you can't take damage for the rest of your activation. And that is still, both of those things are still true. So the thing that you can do if you're playing double masters, and you should probably ban this, is hire Jedza into Maxine so that after your models cheat, they heal, and then it doesn't matter if your opponent hits or not. They can't take damage.
I would like to let you know that it's been nerfed, that it's only EVS models get the heal.
Correct. But the Jedza's thing still works. Jedza's thing still works regardless of whether you're keyword or not. Chronicle Wanderer doesn't care if you're keyword, so it works on the EVS models.
No, Jedza's a Seeker only too.
No, you're thinking Fragility of Life. Chronicle Wanderer is not Seeker only.
Oh.
So the thing that reduces the damage to 0, that still works out of keyword.
Okay, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Holy crap, I did not know that.
So if you're playing against EVS, probably just ban Seeker every time if there's a double master format. This was popular for pretty much, I think, most of the teal players in the one like double masters format we did on Vassal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I saw Cody Hyatt did that in one of our local events, and I got smashed by it. It was pretty good.
It's rude.
Can't take any any damage. Yeah, seems good.
All right, so moving on into the guild. So, guild's pretty interesting. There's a lot of scary things. I'm gonna let you guys lead off with this because I look at guild and there's a lot of stuff that I'm just kind of like I don't want to see.
There's 3 that come to mind.
You ban Elite.
So that's actually 3rd on my list.
Whoa.
Why is it 1st on yours?
All right, Pete.
Just lawyers?
What were you saying, Pete? Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just like, Elite, because I was going to lean towards Cavalier first, but go ahead and defend Elite.
No, Elite because of the card cycling, the obeys out of coordination, the buffing.
The lawyers, yeah.
Yeah, lawyers.
It's all lawyer, right?
Yeah. But I see what you're talking about, Pete. But even after, even if I think if I were to let Landon talk, I still would say Elite first, then Cavalier. But go on, Landon. What are you talking about? Convince me.
my 3 were Cavalier, Marshal, and Elite.
Yeah.
Marshall's Lone Marshal. I think
Yes.
we've all seen what that model does, and sometimes you're just playing a crew where you can't let that model be on the board.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And Luisa Fuzi is just like really solid at scoring points, whereas many guild keywords are not. So you'll look at the pool and you'll know whether or not you can allow Luisa Fuzi in the game, right?
Yeah, Dixon and I played a game. Yeah, Dixon, because we played it. I forget who you declared. It might. Yeah, I think it was Nelly, and I was like, you want to know what? This is kind of a wide board. Let's go ahead and not let you hire, Luisa. And you were like, yep, that's exactly who's going to score me a lot of my points.
Yeah, and then I decided that game that I was going to try out the stupid reporters, the one that are 6 points. And I was like, yeah, I remember why I hated these models. That's
the
great.
field reporters, yeah.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah, they're really bad.
Every once in a while I want to try those models too, and usually to similar results.
Yeah. You know the saddest thing is I've had better results playing the false testimony or false witnesses.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the false witnesses, they have false claim. And that action in this GG, shockingly very good.
Yeah, I've scored a lot of ensnare this GG.
Also, can we talk about how good the Rocketeers are out of keyword?
I was gonna get there.
We're getting there.
I'm glad you led us there.
I wanted to hear his false claim story.
Oh, I don't know if it's really a story. It's just that hucksters score points. That's an old news issue.
Okay, fair.
But yeah,
Alright.
Rocketeers.
So you were saying about Rocketeers.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, they're right behind Luis Ufuzi for me, or if you have minion synergy for some reason. But like, they do the same things, right? They have 3 to 4 AP for scheming, and they're really fast. It's just these ones fly, whereas Luisa has the tractor that's not really good anymore.
Yep.
And there was a game Dixon and I played where he also put a coat onto the Rocketeers, so they're armor 2 minions. I'm just like, what kind of world am I living in right now?
So Landon, I gotta say,
The
about
same
this
world
game.
with armor 2 henchmen
Yeah.
that have move 7 and don't mind me.
I know, right?
What I was gonna say, because like this happened in that game, I also had 33. So 33, whenever they walk, they also get a once per activation teleport, 2 inches. So
Yeah.
it was just nuts because it was like this piece that could basically go anywhere within a giant bubble and then not move from the spot. So it just became a huge problem for Pete, which is why he's saying it.
And that's why I think Cavalier is a good one to ban, because if they're playing something like Lady J, or even like even could be like Nelly, Perdita, Hoffman. I mean, there's some mobility in those crews, but Cavalier can really turn that up to go score points while they do their thing. And they're
Yeah,
just
for sure.
efficient.
Also, this is my jank call out. If they're playing Elite and you don't ban Cavalier, they can take those Rocketeers and mimic Up We Go to
Ugh.
have stat 6 and stat 7 Up We Goes.
Oh, man.
That is so
Or-
good.
Or they can mimic Luis Ufuzi's Claim the Land
Ah.
so that they can spend 1 AP to move and then drop a scheme marker.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But Landon,
And they can use Hop On to grab Luisa.
Landon, but they're not gonna move, 7 inches. How is that any good?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'll have to figure that one out.
Let me put my thinking cap. so silly.
I would say, so I'm kind of looking at things that I'm not worried about. I think in Guild, you don't really ban Hoffman out of keyword because like the Peacekeeper you can bring anyways because it's a first style. And the other stuff, it's kind of like, okay.
I mean, I'm still not convinced that I would put Elite below Cavalier, but I do have to admit, Cavalier is definitely making me question that decision. Because, so I would say there's.
I think you
nothing-
value lawyers really high though.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that they do for support for very cheap. My point is, I don't think there's anything in Augmented that beats Cavalier for literally the same job.
Well, no, I'm saying augmented I wouldn't ban in Guild just because I don't think it brings enough.
Right, and I'm agreeing, I guess. That's
Yeah.
my take. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, but I think those are 3 very good call outs with Lady J, Lucius, and then Tull. I think those are the big 3,
think
and
it's-
I don't think there's any kind of debate with it, honestly.
So I'm gonna leave it on this. My last take on the guild. I think the main reason why I value Elite is because after playing, my playstyle loves to have answers in hand, and lawyers fix that problem. That being said, Landon plays apparently a significant enough difference of a playstyle that just having the actions is more important than having the answers in the cards.
So I actually do that a little different. So like, let's say you've been playing Lady J, right? So when you bring Lady J, you're going to see probably the Lone Marshal. You're going to see maybe something else that's kind of gross. And when I look at bans, I'm like, okay, I don't want the lawyer because I don't want you to get another shot with the marshal, right? Or I don't want you to get another 2 shots with the marshals if you bring 2 lawyers. So I think that's why I ban Mimic a lot of times in Elite, because I'm just like, the card's good. Yeah, putting out Shielded's good. But man, if they get that Obey and they get more shots into a model or, get you that extra movement you need to get in place, it's really good.
Yeah, obeying the Lone Marshal to drop a scheme marker because of the drop trigger, and it's just like there's a whole bunch of things that I've done with the lawyer to make me
I don't think this is a surprise to most people, but if you're a new player, if you have a model that buries, you need to ban probably Lady J. It's like that's just an easy one for you new players. It's like if you Yeah, go Dixon.
No, I was gonna say if you're playing double masters, that's right. We gotta get into that part too. And I forgot, Lady J, the Death Touch, she will ruin your day if you actually have anything.
I actually think Lady J
berries.
1's a good double master too.
Yeah, but she doesn't attack the bird. We're talking about the bird.
Okay.
Right now,
I mean,
right?
Jury also just exists to screw
Yeah.
over buried
Just-
and or
just,
summon models.
Hey, take 2 damage just for being buried.
And the jury. That's right. Jerry exists.
Yeah, Jury's actually a pretty sexy piece of counter tech because she actually comes with suited obey.
Oh, so good.
And also has glimpse like Sammy does, and also has by the book like Lin 2 does. Like
the
she's
book's so
just
good.
got
Yep.
an entire novel of counter text written on her.
Oh, so
Um,
good.
Definitely was one of my favorite models when I was just starting to.
Let me
like,
ask you
dip
guys.
my toes in
Let
the
me
guild
guys
water.
ask you guys this because I think it's probably better. I think it might be better in this gaining grounds. What do you guys think of Dashel 1 as a second master? Because I know that was a combo I saw a lot. I think it was GG1 where a lot of people would do, okay, I'm going to play this core models, but then I'm going to bring Dashel 1 and the Dispatcher to, summon executioners and summon the riders and try to help out scoring that way. Do you guys think that's viable in this gaining grounds? I think it could be, but I haven't tested it obviously because I'm not playing guild.
I think you can get away with it, but the dispatcher is harder to protect than he used to be,
True.
I think. And if you have even fewer guard models, it's just Dashel and the dispatcher, then until you summon something, Dashel and the dispatcher have to be right next to each other, and after you summon something, they have to be right next to each other if the summon leaves.
So you're paying 20 points because I just looked at the point cost. You're paying 20 points to basically summon a model a turn.
They're pretty good effing models though.
I don't disagree. Like even a mounted guard or a rifleman alone.
In this edition, I think you would bring a mounted guard and then you would basically you would summon a executioner to jam people up.
I mean,
and
either
then-
or is the point that I was gonna say. It's like you
Yeah.
summoning anything between a rifleman to an executioner. Let's just. Put it that
I
way.
haven't seen it since Titles, but before Titles, it used to be pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know that I really love it, but you could probably get away with trying it.
The thing is, I don't think people would ban it because you look at guard and it's kind of like, okay, there's not too many good guard out of keyword selections, maybe a mounted guard, but you're not going to ban, Dashel
think-
for that.
No, but
It's the DCU that you're taking if you're taking any of them out of keyword.
oh, okay. That's okay. I mean, I like the combo with the Dashel thing in Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get to steal with your summons, so that's an option.
Okay. All right, so we're about halfway through here. So we got the Neverborn, the nasty Neverborn next. So
Screw you guys. I know what you're gonna say. Eat it.
It's Kurgan.
Eat it.
Kurgan. Well, so this is kind of like what we talked a little bit with Bayou is I'm doing it for the Kurgan, but also it's good to not see Zoraida as a second master.
Yeah.
Yep. That is
But
absolutely
the
true.
Kurgan is basically like a second master all by himself. So,
Yeah.
like, you get to ban 2 masters with 1 ban.
Okay.
Yeah, Dixon, apparently you made somebody finally see the light on the Kurgan today.
Harley.
Yeah.
Oh, I already knew. Kurgan's just he is what he is.
Yeah.
We were in sync ever since the Pandora thing we did.
Yeah. Like it's he's so dang good. Regardless of the master, displacing friendly models 18 inches, man. You just gotta keep that in mind. It's like, holy crap, what is this?
Yeah, you can basically chuck, if you want to, if it presents itself, you could use the Kurgan to chuck a model pretty close to your opponent's deployment zone if you really want to. It's pretty gross.
Yeah. Or, just push your opponent's stuff through walls. Like,
Yeah.
if it's a board with a lot of, like, thin but annoying terrain, like, ugh. Yeah, it's rough.
I think if you're worried about, I think the other things that pop up in my head, so when I'm looking at Neverborn, it's basically the Kurgan, but I also, if Dixon or if a Neverborn player plays Lucius, I think, okay, what's something I don't want Lucius obeying and getting extra actions? Usually that's going to be Nakima's keyword with the Nephilim. Also, I've been known to ban Pandora if I don't want to see Candy, or ban Euripides if I don't want to see whatever his henchman's name is. So that's a couple other shout outs that I have.
If you're playing against Swamp Fiend, banning Woe is not bad because there's a very good chance that Swamp Fiend will chuck a candy literally straight across the table just to disrupt you while they get there.
Yeah, candy's definitely what I was going to call out. But I think everything else is pretty valid.
Yeah. And nowadays,
I don't have
the
any
number
other
one
call-outs, actually.
No, the number one pick in versatile that I keep seeing people in conversation is Angel Eyes. Yeah, very negative. There's no reason not to take Angel Eyes, I guess, is been the coin phrase or something. What do you think, Landon?
Yeah, I think Angel Eyes is really good. I think there can be valid reasons not to take Angel Eyes, but
Is that
I think
mostly
you
the
have to be
board?
convinced what it is. Yeah, mostly the board, right? But I think you have to be convinced not to take Angel Eyes rather than convinced to take Angel Eyes most times, I think.
I mean,
Really solid.
You just
The next point that I was gonna make is, since we know that Angel Eyes might be a choice, does that also affect how you guys pick a keyword to ban?
yeah, it means I ban the Kurgan because the Kurgan has a lot of ways to move Angel Eyes around the board.
What if you're playing against Swamp Fiend too? I guess I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
So-
Oh, it's so funny.
Good. I have one more thing that I was going to ask you, and this one's just kind of like, I don't think it's like competitive, like broken, but if somebody's playing against Titania or somebody's playing Titania, do you ban Marcus just because you don't want the upgrades on the Malisaurus Rex?
Oh, that's a good point.
No, I want to see that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, dude, that shit
You
is
just
so
gotta-
fun. Thank
You got to play Doug then. Doug does that all the time.
I did it. Shit, I won the game that I played.
Did you play that? Did you play that in Houston?
I played that right next to you. It was kind of funny because you forgot about it. I literally, yeah.
Well, I was a little tilted in that game, so I didn't have time to look at your board state. and what you hired.
Well, okay. So long story short, you won that game. Anyway, so long story short, I played the combo against Mayfang 2, and he, the famous thing, he didn't leave within 6 inches of his deployment zone for like 4 rounds. So yeah, 4 turns.
I hope the listeners are kind of getting our kind of thought process here, because as we're going through this keyword, I think you'll start to notice that all 3 of us are going, okay, is there a second master that I want to ban that I don't want to see? And then we're then going into, okay, then what are some models that I don't want to see? So just kind of key into that as we're kind of talking through this stuff.
I mean, we can so far summarize the quick thing that happened with Neverborn is Swamp Fiend number 1, then Woe, then it would be probably Nightmare because of Widow Weaver and the Dreamer and stuff like that.
I don't know.
I don't
about
really
that.
know
Yeah,
if
I don't
I'm
know about
fussed
that.
by that. Like, the Dreamer's not a... Now that he's 15 points as a second master, I think the Dreamer's pretty fine.
Okay.
Mature Nephilim is probably the thing I'd look to hire or to ban out
So
as my
Nephilim.
third.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've seen Nikima hired as a second master before, specifically with Zoraida. So if your opponent declares Zoraida, maybe think about Nephilim if you really don't want to see, the black blood and the high damage. So I've seen that combo as well.
So yeah.
Also, it bans out dogs.
Oh
Yeah, those corrupted hounds are doing some work.
Yeah. That's actually something that we have to say, because that was a model that was wrong. I was like hating on them when they got buffed, and after that, I tried them out. I was like, no, these models are good. These models are really good. So
You mean my Wicked Doll doesn't have to hit a TN to move another 6 inches?
Right?
What?
and ignores terrain, if I remember correctly.
It does not ignore terrain, unfortunately.
Oh,
but-
sad face.
I don't think anybody's sad about that.
I am. Leave me alone. Anyway, but like, I still don't know if you would ban Nephilim before you ban Swamp Fiend. What do you guys think?
I don't think I
No.
would. I'm pretty certain that I'm much more scared of the Kurgan, but like it's a reasonable call out. Like maybe they're playing Swamp Fiend, or someone said like, oh, in the last game they just got me with their hounds, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Because that's something I think we haven't really addressed, right? Is that when you're at like one of these physical events and you're just talking with your friends, or like you kind of like get that secondhand information, sometimes that lets you ban a bit differently
Yes.
Yeah.
than you might otherwise would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught
And
a
I'm
lot
not
of
saying
that,
you
for
need to
sure.
like take a magnifying glass or like start rifling through people's bags on the break, right? Like don't do that.
So Landon, did you play? I can't remember. Did you play a lot of war games before Malifaux? I can't remember if you did.
Not competitively. Like I've dabbled in a
So,
lot of different games, but
You would laugh then, because in these other gaming systems, you have to build your lists and submit them, right? So in 40K Warhammer Fantasy, you have one list, and then in War Machine, you actually had two. And so what people would do, like you're waiting for the tournament to start, everybody's got their stuff on the boards and everything. You have these super highly competitive players that are walking around staring at the boards, trying to see what you brought so they can, game it in their head and stuff. And I'm just like, dude, come on, it's not that serious. Like you might not even see me, and you're over here trying to, scout out what I brought.
Maybe he's just admiring your painting, and
That
that's why
wasn't
he's
it.
writing down every single model in your list on his clipboard.
So I will say that if you have some foreknowledge on your opponent or what your opponent's playing, like I think a lot of people knew I was playing Sandeep at the Houston tournament. So I think a lot of people just because I talked about it a lot, and I don't care that I'm putting info out there for people, but they were like, "Yep." So since you're playing Sandeep, I'm definitely gonna do Performer because I don't want to see Cassandra or any other nonsense. So yay.
Yeah, I mean, use what you've heard. It's definitely a thing where I talked a big game about hiring Kanoichi into Lynch, right, for however long since that first Captain Con.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, and here's our year of bands formats. All right, well, if I take Lynch, there's no way in hell I'm getting Key and Kong through.
Oh yeah, I see, and I think honestly, if you're curious about something to ban, if something has tools for the job, that's kind of worth banning, in my opinion. Because I can't think of a model that has tools for the job that's not good.
I can actually. That was a challenge. It is what is that thing called?
I'm gonna look at that up because I've never seen that before.
December Acolyte.
Oh yeah, they do.
It has tools for the job.
Oh my god, that's a model.
You won.
Yep.
You got me. I forgot that was a model until Dixon played Raspy 2 and summoned it.
He's missing armor 1. That's what it is. Because that's basically what happened when I played against Pete. Is like that extra armor 1 actually made him good.
Yeah, but you summoned. You didn't hire.
No, that's my point.
You have to summon them to get the armor.
Yeah, that's literally why. Yeah, I mentioned it because if
and also not paying the soul stones is also a positive.
I would pay 7 soul stones if this thing had armor.
If they had armor.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
okay.
It was okay. It was okay in keyword, but a lot of models that have tools for the job are good out of keyword as well. So, yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
I mean, I'm not gonna take this thing out of keyword. Is what you're thinking about. But I would get it in the December crew if it had armor 1.
Armor 1. Yes. Yeah, it was just a little bit tankier.
Exactly.
This one. So going into Outcast, this one's a little interesting, but I think when I look at this, it's like, okay, let's ban Mad Dog.
Bandit?
That's a pretty good first instinct.
If you have no other information to go off as a new player, just ban bandits because Mad Dog is so good.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Have you ever got wrecked by? You've had to get wrecked by Mad Dog.
I mean, yeah,
right.
but he's 11
Dixon,
points now.
you've got something in mind. I want to hear what it is because I'm of the same mind as Pete right now.
Interesting. Well,
Do you have something else?
yeah, but I guess I'm gonna shut the heck up because my.
Well,
No, don't shut the heck up. I really want to know because to me it's just
Interesting.
I don't know if there's anything Outcast really takes out of keyword besides Mad Dog.
I mean, see now the stress is.
just rip it off. Let's go.
I mean, I pick Nyx out keyword all the time. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't. I think because
I don't know why.
He kind of support himself, but
So why?
Oh, incorporeal, henchman, cruel disappointment, and doesn't need any support, and it supports everybody around him. It's literally 100% the only
You
reason
see,
why
you
it
say he
is.
doesn't need any support, but other than the cruel disappointment aura, what does he really offer?
Well, I mean,
Like bleeding disease doesn't
I just
work.
said incorporeal, henchman, cruel disappointment, and it's super tanky for the point cost.
So here's where I'm confused. Are you saying you're not using cruel disappointment to support your crew, or is it trying to support your crew?
No. Okay, so Nyx supports its crew for 9 points. Granted, he gives out blight to do extra stuff with himself. Got it. So that's not super important, but cruel disappointment in certain crews, I find it to be just that, that holy crap, this puts my crew over the edge. Because then there's a bunch of crews that do 5 damage on the severe, but like 2 to 3 damage on the normal. 1 and 2. And with Crew's Disappointment, you just shut down like that extra 2 points of damage.
Interesting.
I could see that. I haven't tried it, but I can see it. I think it would be better in Gaining Grounds 3 though. This Gaining Grounds, I don't think so. Maybe obviously in Raid, but
It seems just like a really expensive piece for like a 3-inch bubble of extra help.
I don't think, and here's the thing that would hang me up on banning that Dixon.
Yeah.
Is I just don't think a lot of people would bring it out of keyword.
That's
Like,
why I said my pick was dumb when I listened to both of you. And we're like, oh, okay.
No, I wanted to hear it anyways.
Have you brought it out of keyword, or has somebody brought it out against
No,
you?
I pick it all the keyword all the time. Because, like, literally, Crew's Disappointment sometimes pushes the survivability of whatever crew I'm playing over the edge. Recently, I did it with Bygone. I played Bygone. I brought Nyx because...
Don't they already have Cruel Disappointment?
No, not anymore.
They got rid of that.
Yeah.
They used to have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
they used to have it.
Yeah, the matron's just good now instead of super good.
And then Nyx is like sufficiently like not only tanky, but Nyx just survives on its own. So you pay 9 points and just let it loose into the world.
Yeah.
And like sometimes somebody will come by and then Crew Disappointment becomes key. Sometimes you're all in the center. I don't know. In this last game, I played him in Raid the Vaults. He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, something else that if you're kind of worried about it, I think banning Levy's keyword is a super good idea. Specifically, double masters specifically, because especially if you see your opponent hire the Vix, I would ban Levy in a heartbeat because, or even vice versa, if they hire Levy, banning the Vix, because there is a pretty gross combo where Levy basically gets chucked up by the Vix title, and then Levy dies, but then he just goes back to one of his waifs. So. Yeah,
I don't know if I'm super worried about that.
I'm not worried about it, but I mean, if they declare Levy, I don't know if I would ban Mad Dog in that case. I would ban probably the Vix just because I don't want to see.
I would ban Mad Dog. Like Mad Dog's just turned on a lot by Scavengers. Scavengers is the reason why I would ban Amalgam if I was going to ban Amalgam.
Fair. Okay.
Which is a pretty good call out and goes back to our tools throw out. But the other model I'd just point out that I think maybe is a little underplayed. Is Montresor is a pretty good model for Tormented.
No kidding. Why is that?
Firstly, the only reason Montresor would ever die is because your opponent has a answer to Demise Eternal, which if you're taking him out of keywords, so long as you're not already playing like Leviticus, they probably don't have.
Yeah.
And then he's got a bunch of things that are just like useful, like the pull and drag trigger on Toss the Noose to like pull people off points for something like say Raid the Vaults. He's got his big AoE stagger bubble. So you can just like hold an area and make it miserable to be there. And he's just really tanky, which is something that Outcast doesn't necessarily have in all of their keywords. Like, imagine you're playing Bandit, right? And you just need a model to stand somewhere.
I was going to say...
Who are you going to hire for that?
And if you play Dead Man Walking, Montresor is super good out of keyword.
Yeah, that too.
Why?
Yeah. Because the staggered, a lot of Parker's stuff triggers off movement.
Oh.
So like there's that, and then Parker to himself has the toss the noose, whatever, the lasso or something that just staggers something and moves it forward, so you get to stagger something and put it in the Montresor. Your stagger doesn't end bubble at the same time.
Yep.
That makes for a time.
Yep.
It's actually interesting because I've seen that played against me often, where like. If I activate the model takes damage, and if I don't get out of the bubble, the stagger doesn't leave. But getting out of the bubble because of stagger becomes even harder. It's like a whole bunch of layers that just makes your decision making horrible.
Another call out I would have is if you have a lot of markers, it's probably worth banning Von Schill's keyword because I think the Draken troops remove markers pretty easy. So.
Yeah, they do. I've heard people complain online about that a lot, but I don't even know if that's
I haven't seen that
crippling.
Yet.
And actually, that's the same thing with the Rocketeers going back to Guild. Rocketeers getting rid of all my corpse markers, that definitely sucked. And pyro markers, I wanted to punch Dixon through the computer.
But like the thing about hiring the Draken Trooper is that like he's a he's a model you paid 8 points for with 7 wounds. I'm like, he's got the armor, right? But if you're really motivated, you can get rid of that thing
Sure.
and then continue doing whatever you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it presents a problem that if you're super worried about it, so if I didn't know what to ban, obviously Mad Dog's probably still first, but if I was really worried about it, like if it was terrorizing me, like it's one of those things if you were playing against an opponent and they just kept doing this to you and you're just so frustrated with it, just ban it so you don't have to deal with it, right? You could do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any other call outs for Outcast for bans? I think Mad Dog's just the big one. It's just a lot of people lean on him. He's kind of a crutch for Outcast a lot of times.
There's 2 obvious ones that you should ban just knowing your own crew. If you are burying stuff, obviously ban
Eric.
Obliteration.
Obliteration. Oh yeah, I guess obliteration for nothing.
Also,
beats
if you
two.
have places, is it worth banning Eric?
Yeah, I think it is. If you're if you're playing like, I don't know, Dreamer, I might ban like Eric before I would ban Nothing Beast, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
or Talos.
they're both good call outs.
Yeah,
or Talos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 2 that I see oftentimes is Talos and Nothing Beast.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could just bring them and they're just smashing whatever's buried.
Yep. Minimum damage 3, a lot of the shenanigans. But why Eric? Because you fear that his AoE bubble will make it so he can't land?
Yeah, I think it's for
Yeah,
like if you're playing
essentially so you
Misaki or
can't land.
something.
Okay.
Right.
And you don't want to
If
land.
you're playing Misaki, or if you're just trying to unbury things, right, in general, then having a big 6-inch bubble of you can't unbury here is pretty nasty.
Okay. And you don't want to unbury in your deployment zone.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
So
Like if I'm summoning an Alp, for example,
Yeah.
I don't care if like Talos wants to charge and spend an AP hitting my Alp, right?
Okay.
But if I'm summoning an Alp and I can't bring my Alp onto the board, like
I'm more upset.
that's a bigger issue for me.
Okay. Makes perfect sense, actually, now that I think about it.
all right, well, I mean, the last 2 factions we have are Rezzers and 10 Thunders, and you don't want to ban any of those models because they're not good factions, right?
Ancestor.
Well, you see, you just ban Manos because he's a 10 Thunders model in
There we go.
Rezzers,
See, that's
so.
that's just wrapping it up for both factions. Just ban Manos.
and specifically Ancestors. Because, like, I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything in Retainer that makes you go, okay, that needs to be banned.
I mean, Manos is both of those, but yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm saying
I don't think there is a ancestor that is not a retainer in Rezzers.
Oh, yeah,
there is in Thunders.
No, the guy that does the... Oh, I see what you mean. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was about to say...
Assuming
that
we're
guy.
starting in Rezzers.
Yeah, so Rezzers, I think, same thing I've been telling some newer players. I'm like, if you're questioning what to ban, Manos is just a good ban. He's flexible, he hops around, he can kill stuff, he can claim points, scheme. Very difficult to deal with, so he's just a good ban.
Yeah. Yep. The
And then-
number one reason why I ban him, honestly, is the anti-demise tech specifically. Everything else is kind of also annoying, but I hate Archie
that's the thing,
more for the other
He's just
stuff.
a great... Well, I was going to say, so he's a great generalist, and if I play Yan Lo, usually the other keyword that gets banned is Forgotten because people don't want Archie on the board.
See, that's interesting because I don't think that makes my top 3.
Okay.
My top 3 are probably Ancestor Retainer for Manos.
Sure.
Transmortis for Valedictorian, maybe that one's hot.
And Anna.
But then after that, it's the thing that has hanged, Tormented.
Oh, yeah.
So I was going to say, if you really don't want to see the Hanged, Tormented is always worth banning because there's a lot of masters that can really make the Hanged do some work. I mean, I've played the Hanged in Yan Lo. I've played them in Von Stuck. I've played them in Mali. Yeah, so they're definitely very, very good in like, I want to be here. You have to deal with me. Let's
So-
go.
And now that you said that, so far though, in the games that we played, I've learned to not try to kill them, just try to deal with them.
Yeah.
Instead. So I don't know if that's a thing because you're still figuring them out, or because
Yeah, I was at that point. I still was. I'm starting to get more comfortable with them,
okay,
especially with the upgrades and their guns. I wasn't using their guns very effectively, but now I'm kind of figuring out how to use that.
okay, yeah, because
and-
hang definitely become a huge problem if you are expected to
and
fight.
Yan Lo and Molly and other just keywords, they can just move. They almost move the hanged better than Jackdaw does.
For sure.
I would say 100%. The movement shenanigans you can pull on Yanlo alone. Ugh.
Yeah, and I think
Castor too loves the hanged.
Yeah, that's true.
Castor 2 loves the hanged.
He does.
It was a TOO, but technically both.
Yeah.
Is that because they can overheal and that ping stuff?
No, you've got Visceral Rampage to just like,
There you go.
You don't do damage to them when you grab them to bring them up the board. Essentially, it's like, what we were talking about with the Kurgan. It's like that, but you got to spend AP on it. You just displace them by like 8 inches for an AP.
Yep. It's so dumb. Visceral Rampage, do 1 damage and place them basically 6 inches forward in front of them. And because they're incorporeal, you can just do that a couple of times. And you're like, okay, my guys are deployed. Are delivered. Do whatever you want with them.
Oh, it's push this model.
Yep.
Its move. Oh.
Yep. And then you put them in front of him. And then he can charge the other one or something stupid. Oh, not charge. I guess move and then do it again.
And since they're incorporeal, you can move around them or through them and stuff.
Exactly.
But also, I think that keyword or both keywords or both versions maybe have the ability to stagger for the hanged as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're stagger on Visceral Rampage.
Pete's
you can
getting
just,
ideas.
grab people.
Yep.
And then Dominate, if you're playing the other version, also staggers people.
I haven't seen the Awaken at all. Have you seen it in competitive play enough that we should worry about him?
I've seen it once, but I don't know if I would worry about it. I feel like I want to try it more.
That's kind of where I am with it. I'm Awaken seems very interesting to me. I just need to put it on the board to see how it feels.
I think like every piece of his card needs to be good for Awaken to be good, whereas like just one piece of Fervent's card can be good for him to be good though.
So let me ask you guys this, because I know there's a lot of good models in Rezzers that you can ban those keywords, right? Is there a second master that you're worried about in Rezzers?
Maybe McMorning?
McMorning 1?
If it was anything, it'd be McMorning or it'd be like Karai.
Okay.
If it's double masters, Karai moves stinks around.
Well, and Karai can summon the totem, right?
I don't think she can if she's not the leader anymore. She used to be able to, though.
I was gonna say.
But she can summon Guixin, which are like really annoying this GG.
Yeah.
Because they've got Trail of Gore.
Yep.
I'm still convinced that it would probably be either a version of Yanlo or Seamus 1 before.
Oh yeah, Seamus. I forgot about Seamus.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if you guys said that, because I haven't done it yet. I almost did it yesterday, but I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to do it with my local meta. So I played Molly, and I was like, I could play Molly 1, and this is a good enough board where I think I could bring Seamus and just shoot everything.
The thing about Seamus is like he doesn't even have to do the shooting part.
Yeah,
the shooting
just
part
goes
is amazing.
and win.
But he does, yeah, exactly. That's like the most annoying thing about playing against Seamus. Like Seamus can kill you, but he doesn't even have to kill you to be good.
Yeah,
it's true.
He's a little bit less good when he's only got 3 AP instead of 4, but he's still 3/4 as good.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually one of the things, because I played against Jim, and Jim banned Seamus, and I was just like, okay, I guess I'm going to bring Manos. And he was like, I didn't respect Manos being picked out of keyword, but I definitely didn't want to see Seamus with stacked cards because of Molly.
Yeah, that's fair. One of the Seamus's big issues is that he just doesn't have ways to guarantee he does really good stuff, so you just have to like kind of draw the right cards and then make your opponent have a miserable day. If you can draw cards and make people have a miserable day,
look out. Plus, Kruligans are so cheap, I could still bring like 2 Kruligans, Seamus, Archie, and probably another model.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And you feed Seamus stones so he can get that
just
daze
stealing
trigger.
soul stones for Seamus to use.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm not going to kill you because 8 damage is not enough to kill a master or whatever. I'm going to daze you in the in-between process of killing you.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is we say Seamus can't kill henchmen because, they have stones, right? Well, what happens when the Krooligans have taken all your lunch
That's
money?
exactly my point. This is so gross.
Be like, sure would be a shame if the Krooligans took all your soul stones and you took 8 damage to the face.
I want to remind the listeners, I said this in the beginning, I accepted that I'm going to lose between 2 and 4 soul stones, and I bring a soul stone cache of 5 on purpose because of that BS. It's so dumb. And I've been doing better.
You also want
I've been
to
taking
use them,
2
right?
stones before against like Krooligans because you're like, all right, I'll stone for cards on the first turn, I'll stone for like a suit, and then they're all gone.
Yes.
That's not
he's
terrible.
wrong.
The games so that's kind of the thing. I think Trevor's kind of clued into it as well, where there's some games where it's like when they only bring like 2 or 3 soul stones, I'm like, oh, this isn't a lot for me to steal at all.
Yep. You kind of have to.
Any other call outs? I think those are really good ones, but
that's it.
I think that pretty much covers it.
I want to just one more time go through all of them quickly. Double Masters, Seamus number 1, and then Manos and stuff like that. And if it's not Double Masters, then you said Ancestor, and crap, I missed out on the other 2. What were the other 2?
Transmortis because of Valedictorian,
and Anna, because both of them are dangerous in their in their own respect. And what was the third one?
Hanged, whatever that one is.
Tormented. Okay, yeah.
Tormented, that's it.
Yep, I think that's a good summary of that. And the thing is, it's really good to ban one of those, but man, they Rezzers still have so many good out of keyword options. Like if you ban Valedictorian, it's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna take Hanged. It's like it's not like I'm screwed out of these awesome models just because you banned that one keyword.
Oh Lord, he coming.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, you just kind of have to know what your keyword can do and which one you can deal with.
Yeah,
because like you guys talked about Archie, right? And Archie does some pretty good things when he does things, but like if you've got ruthless guns or like just ruthless anything to like punch through Archie, like he suddenly is less of a problem, and maybe you can ban something else.
Oh yeah, when I play Archie, if I can ban Marshall, I do, because the lone Marshall just melts Archie. Oh man! All right, so last faction, 10 Thunders.
That's a good question.
Landon says don't ban anything.
So Qian Gong is the one that I'm going to call out, but Story, not Red Library, 2 different keywords.
Yep.
Story is the other one that I think is pretty commonly accepted nowadays, and then like Monk is probably the third one.
I was gonna say we should start with Double Masters just to get that out of the way.
Oh yeah, just get out of the way, McCabe.
Yeah.
Ban McCabe, Double Masters, then Last Blossom, I would say, but I don't know.
I wouldn't bother.
Okay.
Last Gaining Grounds, I would agree. This Gaining Grounds, no.
So I wouldn't even agree. Last Gaining Grounds.
If it's not Double Masters, if it is Double Masters and you're not worried about Wastrel for X reason, so you're saying not Last Blossom, then who then?
I don't know that I even care about any other hired master, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just McCabe for Double Masters.
I mean, for very obvious reasons. If your crew cannot handle precise attacks, then you're just going to get shafted. If your crew is mainly melee attacks, Jorogumo, would that be enough to make Oni a thing?
Not for me personally.
Okay.
Like, Jorogumo just gets shot to death out of keyword pretty easily.
Yeah, but I'm saying
if your opponent's playing Wastrel, maybe I would consider it.
Okay.
Like
I was saying
that's a different story.
I was saying if you are playing a crew that is mainly melee, then
that's fair, but I still don't think I would go with that.
Okay. Yeah,
especially just because there's a lot of other extended reach in the faction. If that's really what you're trying to ban Jorogumo for.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think so. Besides that, Story is kind of the obvious one where it's like, if you don't know, because 10 Thunders have a lot of answers. They're kind of like some of the other stuff we talked about where it's like, man, they just have a lot of good out of keyword stuff.
Yeah.
I think 10 Thunders is probably the out of keyword faction. So I think Story has the most good stuff, right now.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah, if
I
you
kind of
don't
lean
know-
towards that.
I mean, my number one.
If you don't
pick
know
is
what
that.
your opponent's playing, like Horse Boy is definitely something you just never want to have to deal with.
Horseboy,
Yeah, Sun
Monkey King,
Sun Wukong, yeah.
those two are like competing for being the biggest asshole in that keyword. One because
And it's a pretty big competition because you still got Story of Raijin.
Yeah.
well, Raijin, if you have any movement shenanigans in the keyword that you're playing, Raijin is a bigger threat than the
Yep.
other two. Like, it's so stupid. But what I'm trying to say is, like, as an opponent, I ban story. Not story. What's it called? Yeah, it is story. I ban story first, and then I look into if I want to ban the other ones. This is if not we're not playing double masters. But you're saying that Monk may be a third or a second?
Monk was like the third for the same reason that Qiangong is my first, to be honest.
Right.
You get Charm Mortar if you hit either of those, right? If you hit Qiangong, you also get to take out
The
Bill
Kunoichi.
and Kunoichi. And if you hit Monk instead, you get to take out Low River Monk.
So your take is ban Chi and Gon because you ban a larger swath of good models?
Definitely models that I have hired in a variety of different situations. Like sometimes you can guess based on what your crew's is, or your opponent's crew is, what they're going to take out a keyword. But like if you're not sure what they're playing, getting rid of their tools model that also hands out focus is not a bad idea. And like Bill just kind of fills in an awkward faction gap that existed before Story happened. So like if you know they don't have Story in their bag, like Bill's kind of one of the best models for just being a tanky guy that sits there and does damage.
Yeah, and I think it depends on like what your opponent also declares. Like if somebody declares Misaki, like I played against Lance a bunch now, our buddy from Australia, and he plays Misaki a ton. So I'm just like, you want to know what? I'm not giving you Kunoichi anymore because you always bring them. You get a bunch of focus out, and then I die. So just kind of thinking about that as well with, okay, they're playing something that wants to fight. I know the Kunoichi can get him a card, give him some focus, and help that out. That's a good one to ban. So thinking about how it actually interacts with the crew they declared is also kind of something to go about.
Yeah. Also, it cannot be ignored that Kunoichi don't even have to be in the fight to be useful, because like they even have ways to break up a scrum by like getting the bonus action that removes a model from combat. So
it's so good for scoring points.
it's just stupid.
I've seen a lot of people bring Lynch's stuff out of keywords, specifically like, you know, Gwen to draw a bunch of cards, or, you know, Kitty to do a bunch of like scheming and crap and fighting. So you being the 10th Under player, Landon, I mean, do you see that validity in that, or?
I don't think I would ever ban it, because the thing about those is that you're right. Those are both really good models that people will take out of keyword, although I'm going to, you know, give my hot take on stream because I have to, that Gwyneth is a terrible model.
Yeah.
But there's substitutes to both of those models in the faction.
Sure.
So if you ban them, you're like, oh no, I can't use Gwyneth Maddox to draw a bunch of cards. Well, I guess I'll just hire Sensei Yu instead.
Yeah.
You know, use Good for a Laugh instead of Deja Vu.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, it's you.
Like, so that's why I don't think Honeypot's a super solid ban.
Why do
Or
you think Gwyneth's a bad model?
No, he doesn't.
I do.
I told
do.
you.
Smoke that crack.
So she's not very fast. All she does is draw cards, and in the late game, she just kind of doesn't have anything to do other than stone for draw out secrets to try and score points. So like, she doesn't score points, she doesn't kill models. All she really does is draw cards, and I don't think you really need to draw cards. You don't need to 10 points worth
when
of
I've
draw
seen
cards.
her out of keyword, I did pretty much just ignore her and kill everything else.
Yeah, that's just what you do.
I mean, I don't get it, because like I see her do work. She gets like 1 or 2 VPs granted just by staying alive, and you guys don't see that as a value, even though she's also giving you.
I don't
so
see
many
how
cards
she gets 1 or 2 VPs just by staying alive.
by
Like,
being
I don't know.
on specific points and doing an action or dropping a scheme marker, like you said. Like I've
think
seen
Landon's
that in
but
every
any
game
model
that I've
can
seen
do
her
that.
in.
That's what Landon's saying though, is like, you don't want to ban her though, because
That's
you
all
can
she
do that
does.
with almost any other model.
The card draw, I guess, gets me.
That being said, I think if Landon was playing Honeypot, I think you bring Gwen still, or no?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
The last game I brought Gwen, I regretted it immensely. I'm like, oh, the
Interesting.
internet keeps telling me I'm wrong about this. Let me try it. And I'm like, no, I'm not wrong about
Yeah.
this. This is
He
terrible.
played her in the Lone Star Foldon. I think it was like round 4 or something like that.
Yeah, I've got a recorded game actually. I think it was round
On the
3
internet.
with Nathan Luckett.
Yeah, I love Nathan.
And the first 3 rounds of the game, he called hit the jackpot right every time. It was supernatural.
You're like, how? How are you doing this?
So never gamble with Goblin. That's just the moral of the story.
Oh man. I don't gamble with her. I do this the first action because I usually don't activate her unless I already am lacking cards in my hand. So it's kind of weird whenever I see people like, oh, I'm gonna activate her with my full hand. It's like, what?
It's kind of funny though, because I think what you said there, Landon's very interesting. Where it's like, oh, if you ban this, there's other models you can pull to do similar, similar things. And I think that's why I actually, story is almost just so good to ban that it's like, if you really don't want to miss, story's just good to ban. I mean, because like you said, 10 Thunders just have so many options, just versatile and out of keyword, that it's hard to make a good ban on them a lot of times.
Yeah, and so that's why I'd say if you're trying to ban something from 10 Thunders, the one thing that we don't really have are like solid tanky models, and that's why Story and Qi and Gong are my 2 recommendations, because the Horseboy, Story of Than Gong, or however you want to say that.
Just Tangguan.
Tangguan.
Yeah.
Really fixes that issue by just saying, here is the one tanky model in my whole faction. It can tank for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that will come up pretty frequently. Like if you're playing against monks, right? The one thing you want to do if you're playing against monks every time is kill the frickin' totems because they're squishy and cheap.
Mm-hmm.
If Thang Guang shows up, you just can't do that.
Yep. Also, the fact that it's a 6-inch, teleport to a model, it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's 6 or 8 inches, which is absurd.
It's 6, and yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah,
absurd.
and it has like a pulse heal too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has a pulse heal. It's got like a couple of neat things.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's ways you can deal with that model, and it's not like this unbeatable model, but it's definitely a model that will just like make you do a double take and fuck with your game plan if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
So like, just don't deal with it. Just ban it.
Yeah, like we plenty of times, Pete and I, we played against it or with it, and he's died. We've seen people kill it. I'm pretty sure you killed it. It's just the amount of resources that it takes to kill this model makes him worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
The best way I decided to kill it was to light it on fire with Sandeep and the rest of the crew.
There you go. Just burn it all. Take the hit, not from my shockwave.
Yep. Every time I hear that story, I'm just like, yep, that's a mark of somebody that has never played against Sandeep.
Cue the song, Dixon.
The one call out I do want to. The song.
In the arms of an angel. Sorry.
Gotcha. The one call out I think that I haven't addressed though is that you're going to look at a scheme pool, right? And you're look at the schemes, and you're going to see like, oh, and snares in this pool. And at that exact moment in this gaining ground, you're going to go, maybe I should ban hucksters, which is the wastrel keyword.
That's wastrel. We talked about banning wastrel first.
But we talked about banning wastrel in the context of banning McCabe as a second master.
Fair.
And like, you're going to really strongly consider it if you're looking at the pool and you're like, that's ensnare, and that's I don't know, what's another really good huckster scheme? There's probably a couple other ones, but ensnare is what really comes to mind for me. This GG of like, I see that in the pool, I'm like, I'll just auto keyword a huckster.
Yep. And huckster might even die after he delivers the payload, but you won like your VPs already, so you don't care. If he doesn't,
if he scored 2 VPs, I'm good.
Yeah, and if he doesn't die, you're like, well, crap. Well, now what do I do?
False claim's a heck of a drug.
I mentioned
if he doesn't
it when,
die, you do it again on turn 5.
Yeah, I mentioned it when I said the GG4, and I was like, okay, so what models? It's like false witnesses. So, they're better, but they don't deliver the payload.
With the hucksters, you can do ensnare, and then just go hide for the entire game, and then just pop out and do it again turn 5.
I mean,
sometimes you can just ensnare, or you can false claim and then back alley away, because you can do it on models that haven't activated yet, as opposed to models that have. So you don't have to wait for last activation anymore.
What I was gonna say is like, I mean, it's not like the keyword gives out fast, and then oh wait, that was the joke that I was setting up. But like, yes, you can do that too. Outside of keyword, you don't have to do the fast thing, but there are obeys and there's models that do fast and stuff too.
We actually don't really have that many models that give out fast. We've got like Sensei Yu, and he's keyword locked.
Okay.
and I think that's actually it.
Really? I thought that he gave out fast to other people. That's crazy.
Well, McCabe can give out fast to minions.
Oh yeah,
when they get an
McCabe
upgrade.
gives out right, of course. But that's waste roll as well, which means you can't ban hucksters.
Oh no, I agree with Landon. I what I'm talking about is I thought that there were ways to give out fast out of keyword, which is what Landon then verified there is no ways.
We've got Mayfang 2, I think.
Yep.
And then that's the only non-keyword locked one other than like McCabe minion upgrade.
Damn.
From what I can recall.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, you can't just bring like Sloth and give everybody fast.
Ugh.
Yeah, can we ban Crossroad 7? Is that a thing? Dude, you should
You
have
can name it, but unfortunately they all have versatile.
You should have seen when I was talking to somebody about that, and we were talking about bans, and they were just like, "Yeah, man, I should really ban Sloth." I was like, "Yeah, but he's a versatile, so that don't matter."
What? Oh my god. Sorry, I was just looking at the cards and I saw a bunch of cards that had assassin on it that I'm just like, why? Why would you do this to the god? Like in the light
Yeah,
of heaven?
Torakage's an assassin, dude. You didn't know?
I was talking more about the fucking the archers, because the archers are dang good.
Yeah, the Thunder Archers or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, I guess you're right. I guess unless we're specifically talking about certain masters, the huckster is not gonna get fast or get an extra action outside of keyword.
You can get
Obey.
yeah.
He can get obey.
Master level.
That's it.
Yeah, we get 2 master level obeys as well.
That's it.
Like, yeah, 3 actually. I'm sorry, I forgot about Yanlo.
Mm-hmm. Yanlo too.
All right. Well, looking at bans, then we kind of got a lot of good information. I feel for just players in general.
Oh yeah.
And I would say this: I don't mind bans format, but I will say it does get a little tiresome to. I'm playing Rezzers right now, so it does get tiresome for people just to ban Manos all the time, because I do like bringing him out of keyword, but he does get banned a lot. I don't know if you guys get the same feeling when they ban your favorite stuff and you're just like, man, I really wanted to play him.
When we started this, I did say that I enjoy the whole ban thing, and then I presented like this is all the reasons that I'm against for the banning part. The reasons why I'm for the banning part is because I found that I'm enjoying changing my list and getting that even if it's a second best option.
That's fair.
I've enjoyed the variety.
Switching it up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to have the most optimal thing. What's the second most optimal thing?
Because I know sometimes, Dixon, you got to feel sad when you're playing Lucius and I keep banning Nephilim.
Yes.
Because I know you like playing that.
Love it. It's like, it's so good, and not many people are ready for it. And even the people that have been ready for it, unless they're like on Landon's tier of player, like I'm pretty sure Angel and Landon and Cackle can defend against it, but most other people I've never seen it win. I mean, I've never seen it lose against, or you know what I mean. Like,
what is the Nephilim Lucius combo?
You can
here?
either
Just
get
my sidebar.
You can either get 1 or 2 mature Nephilims, give them Ancient Pact to both of them, and then you get 2 lawyers, and then Lucius 1. And just enjoy drawing an absurd amount of cards.
It's just slamming them in their face and just making it difficult.
I got you. Yeah. And then obeying them a bunch with the lawyers and the
if you're
classic.
if you're expecting them to be playing like a whole bunch of guns, you just swap out the matures for Cavern Nephilim. It's just like, oh, this works.
And I will say it's better when your opponent isn't thinking about, like, when you see Lucius, a lot of times you're just like, okay, there's going to be a lot of scheming, a lot of actions, going to be a lot of cool stuff going on, and all of a sudden you just see like mature Nephilim slammed on the board, and you're like, I was not prepared for this.
Why has this mature attack 5 times and also have focus for like half those attacks? This makes no sense.
But once you see it and you're kind of like, okay, I can kind of like, I need to be prepared for this. Whereas, like I said before, like Dixon slammed it down. I'm just like, okay. And I was playing, and just to let you know, Landon, I was playing Big Hat before they got the buff. And I was just like, yeah, let me see this. And Dixon's like, but you have guns. I'm like, dude, this is terrible. There's just nothing I can do against this Nephilim coming in and just graping my entire crew.
Yeah. that would happen.
That's the reason why I say it's like if it became
Georgie can try, but
He did not succeed.
if it became a normal list, then obviously people would have answers for it. But like literally, the dark horse element of this list has been making it win a lot more than it should.
Yeah,
I could see that.
yeah. So
It was a classic like GG0 book list,
Yeah.
I think, and then we found other things to do.
yeah. So I mean that's good though, because you're right. It is a challenge because you're like, okay, I can't just bring, old reliable here. I got to reach into the bag for something else. So it is a nice little challenge. But I also do just want to play with my toys sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially for like events where you're expecting a lot of out of towners or like traveling, that bans can get to be a little tricky
Yeah.
because like bag space is already a bit of a concern while you're traveling, and with bans that's kind of like, well, you only brought 1 or 2 keywords. I guess I'll ban the second keyword you brought.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the one model I know that you brought that you need for your crew. So like it has some problems. I think it offers some solutions and some problems, but ultimately it's just kind of like what you want your event to kind of be like. And I think for like a competitive event that runs double masters, I think it's pretty helpful to have bans in the mix.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And all the events I've played, it has not been a bad thing. It's been pretty decent. And I think the more knowledge that kind of the newer and mid-level players get on bans, on just some things to help them along in the event, I think just the better those events will be, because if you know what to ban, it gives you a little bit of a leg up, right? Like it's going to help you avoid some of those painful models that maybe you just either you don't have the skill to deal with, or maybe you don't have the model to deal with because you're limited. Not everybody can be like Pete and throw everything in the bag and go.
And the other thing I think that I want to point out, because it almost feels like I'm saying bans is bad for new players, I think it's actually almost the opposite. I think bans is, generally speaking, a more new player friendly format, not because new players know what to ban, but because new players were probably planning on just playing their keyword anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's actually bans is better for those people.
That is true. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, it's
Because
significantly
when
better.
when I started back in GG0, I definitely didn't play out of keyword. I didn't probably start bringing a lot of out of keyword stuff until Gaining Grounds 2. So I can see that.
Yeah, because like in my mind, as a stereotypical new player, I've bought, my keyword and like maybe a versatile or two that I think is cool,
Yep.
and bans doesn't touch any of
Correct.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and literally, it's a benefit. If you want to play in keyword, like Lance would love bans, because Lance only plays in keyword. Even as a 10 Thunders player.
I think Europe in general likes bans.
Oh yeah, but he's in Australia. It's not the same.
I know.
So my point is, I think that's actually good, because all the rest of us that like to dabble with all out of keyword and stuff, we're still gonna adjust. We're just gonna be like exactly like I said earlier. Okay, they're messing with my most optimal list. What's my next most optimal list?
And honestly, if I'm playing against somebody and there's a model that they hate enough that's like a super negative play experience, I'm almost okay with them banning that just so it'll be a more fun game, right? So like if somebody really hates the Hanged and they're like, I hate this model, I don't want to see it on the table, I would rather play a banned format in that way, because then I can bring something that still does the role that I want it to, but now they're not going to, be tilted just from seeing the model.
Yeah. I think for me as a competitive player, it kind of just informs me as to what I want to bring to the event to begin with.
Yeah.
Because if like, you've got this list, right, and it's the perfect list, and it wins every game you've played online, but it doesn't function if you don't have, like, one out of keyword model, you just shouldn't be playing that list in bans or declaring that keyword unless you have a second list. Right? And so, that's kind of like why I think I said at the start of the episode, I started my journey of playing Qian Gong, because at the start of the year I was playing Lynch and hiring Kunoichi, and
well, and
that was
that's
really cool
why
and good,
I like that I'm playing right now Yanlo and I'm playing Molly, because they can either play super heavy in keyword, or you can sprinkle in some versatile or out of keyword stuff in there as well. So like, even though Manos has been banned a bunch, me playing lately, I still haven't felt like I've been handicapped, because I'm like, well, Molly's keyword's still really good. Plus, I still have the Dead Rider. Plus, I still have Valedictorian. Plus, I still have XXXX, all these models, right? So,
Yeah, so just make sure you're playing a keyword where you have options.
yes. Yeah, I think that's good advice for competitive players. Dixon, any closing thoughts on bands before we wrap this
No,
up?
I really liked this conversation. This was very eye-opening.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, especially
Landon,
for
what-
the Outcast thing.
Oh, yeah. Landon, what about you? I know you got a couple plugs and any closing thoughts.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to us already, come listen to me talk on the Danger Planet. We do keyword tier lists, which is just a way of us saying we shoot the shit about a keyword and tell you what we like to hire and don't.
And I don't know when it's coming out, but I was on there for the Sandeep keyword tier list. So sometime in the next month or two, that'll probably come out sometime on their channel, on your channel. So that'll be fun when it comes out. Because, yeah, there was some good conversations. Longton had some
Spicy takes.
Well, he's kind of interesting because I feel like he's very in tune with the meta, like just the overall meta of Malifaux. So he has very strong opinions on what's good and what's trash. So it made for a very interesting conversation.
Yeah. That's definitely his role there is to, be the absolute edge of the competitive advice.
Yep. So you got that going on. And anything else, Landon? I know. Are you going to be at Captain Con?
I'm going to be at Captain Con.
Sweet.
Also, please come to Adepticon in March. That's in Illinois.
Yep.
Chicago.
Yep. So got that coming up. That'll be cool. I don't think it's going to be quite as big as the Houston tournament, but there's going to be a lot of people at that Captain Con tournament, so that's going to be fun.
For sure. It's always one of the larger events of the year, which is impressive considering it's all the way in Rhode Island, right?
Well, and I've almost just made it where I've decided I'm going to do Rhode Island and Houston as my two big tournaments of the year. Eventually, when the kid graduates high school, I'll probably branch out to maybe 2 more tournaments throughout the year. And but those are 2 good ones.
Yeah, they're 2 excellent ones, and I would definitely recommend if you were thinking about traveling, getting out to those events, because those are, I think, for me, the 2 do not miss faux
Yeah,
events.
they're the most fun just in general. Not always like there's going to be always a good amount of players and a good amount of decent competition and good players, and also a lot of just new players who are also just happy to get some games in as well. So I think until next time, this was a great episode. Hopefully everybody got something out of it. And until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards, flipping tables,